Kakadosh Boker Tov. We're just going to continue with halachot. We're going to speak about Aseret Yemei Teshuvah if we're already during Aseret Yemei Teshuvah. Obviously, we know the halachot of Hamelech HaKadosh, which is very important that if we do not say Hamelech HaKadosh, we have to actually go back. We'll try to speak a little bit more about that. When does he go back? What happens if it's Toch Kedei Dibur, if it's going to be within a few seconds, if they already started the next beracha? That we'll speak about another day. However, today I just wanted to focus about the other one, which is very important, which is Hamelech Hamishpat. What does that mean? The Hamelech HaKadosh, usually, even during the Rosh Hashanah, we've been paying so much attention to Hamelech HaKadosh, hopefully we'll remember Hamelech HaKadosh. But Hamelech Hamishpat, right? Hamelech Hamishpat, that we just started basically last night for Arvit. We don't, and it's much less emphasis, right, because of the entire Rosh Hashanah, we got Hamelech HaKadosh, everything's Melech. But once it comes Melech Tzedakah Mishpat, you might as well just continue. So what happens if a person accidentally said, instead of Melech HaMishpat, he said Melech Tzedakah Mishpat. So our minhag is like the Ramah, which we do not retract, we do not go back, because we have a very general rule, right, which is basically Safek Berachol Lakel. Now a lot of people think, this is only the Ramah, which means the Moroccans go like the Ramah. We'll bring down that there's much more, not only just Moroccans, right? Baghdad, Ben Ishchai, there's a lot of them. So let's just try to understand exactly what it says. The Gemara Masechet Brachot of Yubet Amubet says the entire year a person says Hakel HaKadosh Hamelech Tzedakah Mishpat, except for Aseret Yemei Teshuvah, the 10 days of repentance between Rosh Hashanah and Kippur, we say Hamelech HaKadosh and Hamelech Hamishpat. Now the Rif comes and he says, if you did not say Hamelech HaKadosh or Hamelech Hamishpat, you're not Yotzei Chovah, you don't fulfill your obligations, and you have to go back. The Zarua brings down in the explanation in the Rif that even though you did say Melech in your tefillah, but you said Melech Tzedakah Mishpat, you're not Yotzei Chovah. And that's also the Rambam. The Rambam says the exact same thing as well, and also the Rosh. And even with the Avad, if you said it, you're not going to Yotzei Chovah. It's also going to be the Ritva, Machzor Vitri, and right, the Manamrotomu, Gorchot Chaim, Kolbo, right, and a lot of others as well. However, though, Talmidei Rabbeinu Yonah bring down, right, in the Shita of the Rif. So it comes out that there's a machloket in the Shita of the Rif. Remember the Rif of Yitzchak El-Fasi, right, from Fez? He was one of the main Rishonim that we bring down, right, the Rif, right, Rambam and then the Rosh, that's the order, the Rif, Rambam and Rosh. So the Rif comes and he says, this is the Rabbeinu Yonah, which was also from Granada, right, to Garonda, that he was explaining in Shitat Arif. He comes and he says, no, if you say Melech Tzedakah Mishpat, you do not have to retract, because since you already said Melech, you said that he's the king. So you didn't have to say Hamelech Hamishpat. You said Melech Tzedakah Mishpat. You already mentioned that he's a king. You don't have to go back. The Tur brings down the name of his brother Rabbeinu Yechiel, right? I don't know the difference between Melech Tzedakah Mishpat and Hamelech Hamishpat. He says that at the end of the day, it's the same thing. You're mentioning Malchut. However, I did hear that Provencia, right, they wouldn't say the entire year Hamelech Tzedakah Mishpat, but rather Ohev Tzedakah Mishpat. Meaning there was a minhag in certain places in Provencia that they wouldn't say Melech. The entire year round, they used to say Ohev Tzedakah Mishpat. So therefore, it makes sense. If they only said Ohev Tzedakah Mishpat and they didn't say Melech, so comes Aseret Yemei Teshuvah and they didn't say Melech Ohev Tzedakah Mishpat, but they never said Melech. So therefore, you said Ohev Tzedakah Mishpat, you're not Yotzei Chovah. You have to go back and you have to say Hamelech Hamishpat. Now Maran brings down, right, in the Shulchan Aruch, that you actually do have to go back. Chozel Lerosh. And the Ramah is the one that says that you don't have to go back. So he says, "V'chen k'tav abach ledina," like the Ramah, that you don't go back. Also, the Magen Avraham brings down the Matem Moshe the Shlach Kadosh, right? That you don't, right? He says, right, that you don't have to go back, because he comes and he says, right? De'eno tzarich lachzor. However, though the Pri Chadash says that even if you said it, you do have to go back, and that's the Rav Chida. However, though, now let's come and look at the Acharonim. Meaning further on, later on, the consensus of the poskim later on. He comes and he says like this. The Knesset Gedolah says, since the majority of the poskim hold that you don't have to go back, Maran says that you do, even if you did say Melech, right, you do have to go back. He says everything that Maran was saying was because of the girsah that they had of only Ohev Tzedakah Mishpat. Meaning, even Maran was talking about in a case where they would only say Ohev Tzedakah Mishpat. That's the Knesset Gedolah. Remember, the Knesset Gedolah wrote a sefer explaining, right, the Tur and explaining the Bet Yosef. So he comes and he says, even according to him, it will be like that. So therefore, he finishes off as saying, since the Machlok the Poskim, right, Manacha Likra Manacha, which means you've got one side against the other side, Safek Barachol Hakel, you don't go back. And that's also the Chayei Adam says the exact same thing. Also the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch of Rav Gansfried, Shulchan Gavoa, right, and the Ben Ishchai. So the Ben Ishchai brings down in Nitzavim Ot Yutet that even though Maran says you go back to the beginning, Safek Berachot Lakel Keneged Maran, and you don't go back. And the Kaf HaChaim, the same thing. He brings the Acharonim, and he says, even though Maran was posek like that, Safek Berachot Lakel. And the Gaon Rabbi David Ovadia brings down Naguam, that was the minhag of Morocco. That the second that you say Melech Hamishpat, you don't go back. It's also brought down in the Machzor Avotenu, right? And then he says also the Shut Ma'im Chaim. He also brings the same thing. So the Magen Avot says that was also Rabbi Shalom Mesah saying that Halakha L'Maaseh, Rabbi Avraham Toledano, also the Kisur Shulchan Aruch Toledano, Rabbi Rafael Baruch Toledano. That's also brought down in the Sefer of the Netivot Ma'arav, right, and others as well, because we just brought, right, all these different opinions. So obviously the Ravadi Yosef is going to argue on that, and he says we go like Maran, we go like Maran, we go like Maran. However, though, did you realize that it's not just Morocco? It's all of Baghdad as well. So therefore, instead of going against Moroccans, right, it's also against the people from Baghdad, because that was a minhag of the Ben Ish Chai, and also the Kaf HaChaim, that they were both from Baghdad. That also the same thing, which means that our minhag was mevusas, right, not only just on the Ramah, was mevusas on the Knesset Gedulah and others as well, that it could be that was also Shitat Arif, it could be that was also Shitat Maran, right, and therefore our minhag is that even if a person did make a mistake, and they said Melech Hamishpat, we do not go back, we continue the tefillah. Obviously try to pay attention to say Hamelech Hamishpat, but if you didn't, so then we just continue with the tefillah, right, as normal.